All right, all right. Random reboot, but I'm back. I have to go to a new chat room, a new video. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I don't know who touched the system, but somebody touched the system and made it do some crazy stuff. I was talking about corporate HQ. Corporate HQ, I do not remember your question to save my life. Please ask again, and I will get to it. And I'm trying to go through the other video and scroll up and find what your question is, but I can't. So if you made it this far, ask again. Man, now it's making all these noises and stuff. So the problem is I'm using my wife's computer because I left mine at the office, and it's the system is in Japanese. So when it starts telling me it's going to do things, I don't really know what it's telling me to do, and so it gets a little scary sometimes. And if you don't, hey, you listen here, John Pinkerton. If you don't believe me, I'm taking a picture of it right now and of the keyboard, and it's going up in the Discord here shortly, just to get you, just to get you. All right, I'm back. I see people starting to roll in now, so we're looking good. All right, Crutch, on the MSMA, it was in tall fescue in Illinois, around 80 to 85 degrees. Bought product from DoMyOwn.com. Product is less than 6 months old. Used 10-foot boom sprayer. Fescue turned somewhat brown. At 1.5 ounces, it should really be browning out the fescue. The other thing, too, is I don't know what you expect the MSMA to do, but it should look like it was torched. It turns like this odd yellow, like, poisoned color. I don't know how else to describe it. And it should definitely really ding and desiccate your tall fescue. By desiccate, I mean like drive the moisture out of it, needle it up. It's going to look damaged. Back in the day, we coined the phrase burn and return. Whenever we were going out with MSMA, you burn it down and then it all comes back looking pretty once it's run its course. So that's it. The other thing, too, when you're using MSMA and you're going after Dallas and goosegrass, typically you have to make sequential applications. That's at least 2 applications back-to-back, 2 weeks apart. So hope that helps. Hashtag get your chat right. That's what I'm talking about. What's up, Telly? I thought it was the Rapture, and they took you and left everyone else. Casey Turner, what's going on, man? How are you, good sir? Swimming? You swimming up there where you are? Corporate HQ, should zoysia be overseeded? Asking for a friend. And what is the recommended mowing height? Thanks. Zoysia should not be overseeded. First off, the seeded varieties of zoysias that are out there, I can't remember the names of them off the top of my head. I don't know if they're strong performers. I don't think they've been used just a ton. So definitely don't overseed it. You should just be regularly mowing it and keep it on a nice fertility program. Remember, zoysia does not require the nitrogen requirements of Bermuda grass. So focus on your soil structure. Typically, zoysia will take care of you. Recommended mowing height, mow it with a reel. I mean, that's where you're going to get your best bang for your buck, especially with how thatchy zoysia can get. Mow it with a reel. If a reel is not an option and you have to go rotary, mow it as low as you can based on frequency. So if you can mow it every day, see if you can take it down to an inch and a half. If you're only going to be mowing it once a week, good luck. And, probably stick to that 2.5 inch range, I guess. You'll have to play with it because let me tell you, when I say it's tricky, and you're going to have many different, each lawn is going to perform differently on mowing heights, even though it can be the exact same genetically identical zoysia cultivar. So, it's a tough question. There's going to have to be a lot of trial and error in that. What's your take on ethifumicate? Label reads pre and post on POA and crab. That's right, Andy. Okay, here's my take on it. It's one of those things where it is like you have to play with it to get it really dialed in. It's always taken multiple apps for me. I've never used it as a pre-emergent. I've never used it as a post on crab, but as post on POA, it was one of those things where like you make the first application, you begin to see some action on it. You make the second application is really heating up. Most instances, I had to actually go to a third, and that's when it was like really heating up. So it's another tool in the arsenal. I don't have the experience spraying it to be able to give you any kind of special insight, but I think it's a good tool in the arsenal. Yeah. Yep. Could aerate possibly take place of aerating and top dressing on golf course greens? North Carolina Turf Pros, I don't know. You're dealing with sand, and when you're dealing with sand, you're dealing with something with a high bulk density. I don't know, man. I do not know. Obviously, when you're talking about golf course greens, you're talking about mitigating organic material buildup. That's the whole premise behind, tining and top dressing is to get rid of that organic layer. So I don't know. Everything about a golf course green is unnatural. You're talking about maintaining a turf grass at 185 thousandths of an inch. That is tough. That's tough. I just don't know if it's going to work the same. That would be a question for John, not a question for me, because I honestly don't know how to answer that. I wish to place. Here's one thing that is interesting, though. We were doing some pretty in-depth, deep research on the Lawn Forum, thelawnforum.com, into aerate. And one of the things they were talking about was how potassium hydroxide can chew up and I'm not going to use the word digest, but destroy organic material in the soil. Now, that was potassium hydroxide at really high concentrations and massive amounts of it. So used in a quote unquote microscopic level, it may work to do what aerating and top dressing is designed to do on golf greens. I don't know, NC Turf Pros. That is a excellent experiment to play with. I wish to place a complaint. This is very unprofessional. Hey, thanks. That is noted, HD movie source. The ortho sprayer versus backpack. Why the heck does my Bermuda look great at 5 inches? And my friend wanted to know how tall to cut zoysia grass. Okay, cover the zoysia grass, the ortho sprayer versus the backpack. I feel more comfortable with the backpack because I have more control over my rates. I can pick up my walking speed, or I can change out my nozzles and get 2 different results based on 2 different products or whatever it is I'm looking to do. It is something, it just comes down to personal preference. I feel like the sprayer is a good starting point. And then when you're ready to take it to the next level, go with the backpack. Bermuda can look great at 5 inches. It all comes down to preference. And again, it's all about mitigating the length of the stem. One thing you're going to run into at 5 inches is that eventually that stem is going to reach the canopy. And then every time you mow, you're going to cut all of the color out of your Bermuda grass. It's not designed to have that long of a stem. And what happens is that because it doesn't have that density on the soil level, it exists at the canopy level. A lot of times you'll run into typically more weed issues. You can run into more weed issues, especially as it becomes stemmy. I hope that answers that part of the question. Pete ran Pilex at 1/4 ounce to the acre on a Bermuda baseball field, 1/4 ounce to the acre. Smoked the goose grass, did not harm the Bermuda grass. Keep that in mind. Anybody dealing with intense infestations of goosegrass in Bermuda grass, Pilex will work on it. That is a really good find. Let's see. I did plug it back in. Which Greene County products have you run through the Permagreen? Any give you clogging issues? Velvet Hammer, the hammer, dropping the hammer. Okay, I have run RGS, Dethatch, Air8, and Microgreen all through the Permagreen. I took out all of my strainers a long time ago. So no clogging issues at all. Here's what my lawn looks like today. I bought LCN starter pack. Trust me, I bought this house in February and it was dirt. Love y'all's vids. Hey, good to hear. Thank you. Big Daddy Dustin Miller. Need to kill zoysia creeping into my ornamental beds without killing my shrubs, larapi, etc. Tenacity or Pilex Lambert. Both of those will work. Hey, man, I was talking about roots coming above ground, but roots just beneath the turf causing the turf and soil to dry out sooner. I want to top dress these areas for better water retention. So, yeah, you'd want to use an organic matter. I don't think that is going to help all that much because what's happening is the roots that are underneath the soil are utilizing all that water. So those tree roots are utilizing that water. And putting a layer of organic material on top of that isn't really doing anything to solve the issue, which the issue is the tree roots are using the water. Top dressing is not going to alter the way the roots utilize the water. They're going to continue to use the water. What it can do is buy you some time because it's putting a Band-Aid on the symptom. Because what can happen is in this organic material, it can hold a little bit more water than potentially the soil surface above it. So what will happen is that the grass will attempt to feed off the water supply here while the tree feeds off the water supply here. How long will that work? A year, maybe a year. Let's see. What is your win-loss prediction for the Vols this season? That's an easy one. We are going 14-0 and 12-0. No, I'm kidding. 7-5, man. 7-5. Cheers from Naperville. Hey, I appreciate that. While I've got everyone, I know I'm coming up on the hour here, but I'm going to go a little long because of what happened. What's up, Michael Tuma? How are you, good sir? I am going to be in Chicago on August the 13th, 14th, and 15th. If anybody is in the Chicago area the night of the 14th and would like to get together, shoot me an email over the course of this week. Maybe we can make some plans to make that happen. So again, that will be Chicago. I'll be at the Navy Pier. So the night of the 14th, I've got to fly out early on the 15th. So the night of the 14th, Chicago, Navy Pier area. Be thinking about it. Let's get together. Where did you learn your knowledge of lawn self-taught? What book should I read? Thanks, Ralph. Hey, Ralph, shoot me an email, thegrassfactor@gmail.com. A little bit of everything, man. It came from all over the place. GCI Turf has a fantastic channel. He's one of my all-time favorite YouTubers. Matt, are you going to mechanical aerate and use Air8 too? Shane, I will not be using Air8 at the time of seeding. I'll actually be using RGS when I seed. So I'll be mechanically aerating in RGS. Paul's prime cuts did teach me. Let's see here. We got that jumped down to the bottom. Let's make our way back up here. I'm replacing the lawn, and there are parts of my lawn where the soil is green like algae. What is this, and how do I fix it? It possibly could be algae. And if you're dealing with algae, it's probably due to the inability for the water to perk. How do you fix that? You aerate the soil. How do you do that? You want to get something growing on it, establish roots. You want to aerate it, or you want to use chemical measures, something like a liquid aerator like Air8. Just did Strum is my probe. I dropped a hide cut on my Fine fescue lawn from 4.5 to 3.5 this week. My stripes aren't as strong, but man, it feels like a dream. So soft. Good to hear, Gravy. Lookout up there in the Dakotas. Super chat for a new internet. My internet is good. I have great internet. I just don't know how to computer very well. Staff to do my own said I could apply Eagle with a hose-in sprayer, so I did after my final application of Headway because it needed to be watered in anyway. Was this a good or a bad idea? Paul, I have no idea, man. I have never used a hose-in sprayer. Well, I've never used one, really. So I can't tell you whether or not that was a good or a bad idea. As long as you got down the right active ingredient over the right square footage, then yeah, you'll be fine. I wouldn't worry about it. Okay. A quarter ounce of egg is such a stupidly small amount. It is, and it's actually pretty cheap too. So after my dimension overdose of 4x the rate in April, I've had no weeds. Should I apply pre-emergent this fall? If so, what should I use? Whoa, Telly, I don't know. You may want to let it go and run a post program if the budget allows. Keep that in mind that a post program is going to be expensive, but you do have Roundup. So what you could do is just let it go through till January or February, and then in January, February, make your Roundup application with your next round of pre-emergent. That way you give it a full chance to completely work its way out of the soil. Now, Dimension does not have the aggressive half-life of something like prodiamine. So chances are, even though you applied it at 4x the rate, it will all work its way out. It doesn't have a cumulative compounding effect. Larry H. Hey, Matt, my soil's pH is 8.2. What's the best way to get my pH to 7? Larry H., this is the man, Green Doc. Ray in the chat would love to tell you his ways of doing it. He does super high volume applications with sulfuric acid. The other thing you can do is citric acid. Citric acid is acidifying. It's also a great chelator. You can use to chelate micronutrients, and you can apply that to the soil. I don't know personally the rates because I don't deal with high pH. I've never had to drop pH that low. If you want a long-term play, this would be a very long-term play, begin using acidifying fertilizer, something like ammonium sulfate, which I would begin doing anyway if you have a pH of 8.2. Switch to ammoniacal nitrogen sources like ammonium sulfate. Well, not just ammoniacal, but switch to ammonium sulfate and use something like citric acid to drop your pH instead of just soil sulfur. Thanks, Matt. You might have answered, but I had to be. Oh, no problem, man. I have a scale at work that can measure that, but I don't know anyone else here has one. Alan Smith, we've got one at the not on a lawn truck or anything, but at my office, we've got one of those. I think I featured it in one of the videos because we needed a gram scale, and it has like walls to affect the wind that blows over it. Neither Jeremy, you've already discussed it on this video. The growth benefit of nitrogen be regulated by. I want to think it up more. I'm currently mowing. Okay. The growth benefits of nitrogen be negated by PGR. No, John David Music. PGR affects gibberellic acid pathways. So gibberellic acid is what's going to cause cell elongation in the leaf, cause it to reach towards sun. It suspends the top growth, the upwards growth. The rest of the plant functions as perfectly normally. So what happens is that you get condensed chlorophyll production in a smaller leaf because it's not elongating as much, and you get more aggressive outward growth. So by using a PGR in conjunction with nitrogen, what happens is that you get that same stimulated growth effect, but instead of the top growth, you get the outward growth. And I'm not sure, it may have been you. I read a comment right before I came on the live stream talking about, would you use a PGR when trying to grow in an area? And the answer is yes, because it shifts that energy instead of top growth to lateral growth. Let's see here. Good night. Oh, hey, Ronald Parrish, you have a good one, sir. 8.2. Yep, that's high. He must be in the Midwest or Minnesota or something. I ran RGS through Permagreen without any alterations. No issues. Good to hear. Oh, man. Let's see. No aerate for you, Matt. Did I hear you say you're going to mechanical aerate? Don't let John Perry. He said that. I know John would make fun of me and call me silly, but you know it's a business decision that had to be made. Aerate has. Ooh, where are we? Where are we? My vacation was great. HD, it was great. Japan is always just a ton of fun. Yes, it's humic and fulvic acid. Air8 has humic acid and potassium hydroxide. RGS has humic. Anything that has humic acid is also going to contain fulvic acid. Humic acid and fulvic acid, the only difference is the particle size. So fulvic is a much, much smaller microscopic particle size as compared to humic. Fulvic can be foliarly absorbed. Humic cannot. It has to be absorbed through the roots. So that's really difference there. RGS, the big thing with it, so everything is going to be humic based that comes from Greene County. It all has a humic component, a liquid carbon component. With the humic means it also has a fulvic component. That kind of goes one and the same. RGS has kelp in it, which is rich in growth hormones, and that's why I apply it at the time of seeding. Hey, thanks. I really appreciate that, Frank. Let's see. I've been playing with my hose and sprayer for a while since my ride-on has been on the healing bench. Woo! Gravy Lookout, what is your ride-on? I'm curious. Soul Sample late checking in. I have to go watch part 1 later. What's up, the Greener Lawn? How are you, man? How was Utah? Did y'all have fun with John out there? Sorry to blow up the chat. I didn't realize how many people were there. I felt silly. Once you pan the camera around, that's for sure. Here we go. 17K of turf. I put 10 gallons of aerate on my yard this year alone. I'm seeing just how far I can go. Look at that. Tried Speed Zone. I really wanted to like it, but I was let down. On to the next one. Where would you recommend me purchasing Last Call herbicide? Alpha Aquarium, I don't know. I believe they pulled it from the manufacturing lineup. If you want Last Call, your better bet is to run the parent chemical, which would be Acclaim. And then if you wanted to mix in some fluroxypyr with it, you can. One thing to keep in mind when you're using Acclaim, do not use it with 2,4-D. 2,4-D will negate the effects of Acclaim. Just keep that in mind. PGR and Tall Fescue, Toby Hauer. I've done it a fair amount. I've never had good success with it. Not just from a growth retarding standpoint. Typically, this goes against everything you hear about it, but I felt like I always had more disease in the ones I sprayed with PGR than the ones I didn't. In South Carolina with a pH of over 8 for a side, yard, and front. Other side and back are like 6.5. That's kind of wild, Chris. If you've got a pH of over 8, you need to drop that, especially with Centipede, man. Your Centipede would thank you so, so much. The question I was fine. That was the answer I was looking for. All right. Do the citric, but water it in this time. I have junk brown grass. I have some 4600. Could I put it down to bring the grass back? Sun 420, I don't know, brother. I don't know. You have to send me some pictures on that, and I'll help you come up with a decision on that. M20, blindside or T-zone? What turf type? What weeds are you going after? I need a little bit more information than that. Do we know a ride-on sprayer that Chris Gibson has? That is funny. All right. Is the biggest difference of next products the amount of available humic content versus other humics on the market? Okay. It's not that simple. So the difference of John's products typically has to do with the analysis or what the overall goal is. So RGS, the humic is just a delivery method. So all of John's products are humic based because that's how he delivers whatever else is in the jug. The only thing he's not delivering anything else in the jug is humic 12 because humic 12 is your base product. That's where it all begins. That's where you work to start rebuilding your soil structure. Humic 12. Then, if you need to drive roots, that's part of a program. RGS. If you're looking to aerify the soil, it's when he recommends aerate. If you're looking for a nitrogen component, you can use the in charge. If you're looking for a nitrogen with iron component, you can run the 1801, which I think also has the RGS kelp in it. So the humic portion, it's not just the amount of humic available, it's the fact that the humic is the delivery system of whatever else is in the jug. Does molasses need to be the Jim Keane, the cheap stuff from the local hunting store works fine. Hey, it wasn't me, Carl. I think we all kind of found each other, man. I have a crazy question. So we do a lot of salt damage repairs. What can I put down on the soil to help the new grass grow? Something to mitigate salt. Gypsum would be a good start. When Bermuda grass blades turn brown from heat stress, can those brown blades turn green again, or is recovery simply new growth coming up? Texas, it's new growth coming up. Ray said gypsum too. Does molasses need to be blackstrap? Oh, yeah, we did that. How to discourage po-trib germination this fall other than no crop seed and fescue blend? So po-trib is perennial, so keep that in mind. It's not the fact that it germinates every year, it's that it just goes dormant during the summertime and then greens back up. It does not die with heat, it goes dormant with heat. So as long as you're 100% sure it's not in your lawn and you want to keep it out, tenacity or as Andy Burleson mentioned earlier, New City Lawn Care in Oregon, you would want to use something like ethofumicate. Ethofumicate. Propiconazole is a good PGR for fescue. It is, and it's hard on it, isn't it, Paul? Anyone like the Oklahoma Sooners football? Even a little. I'm still mad over the was that 2015 comeback from Oklahoma. Man, just furious over that. Is the chickapoo compost or jig manure worth spreading on the lawn? It is $2 for $3 and $8 for a 25-pound bag. Colonel Nathan Marr Jessup, that sounds good. The price is a little high, but yeah, that 2 for $3 would be fine, man. Lay it down heavy. What would you recommend for a PGR in Bermuda lawn? John, I would recommend T-Nex, which is the generic Primo Trinexapac Ethyl. I don't know much. I'm just getting about a house in Ohio. 3 years always. Okay, so you're in Ohio. So do not use blindside in Ohio. I can promise you that. I would recommend your T-Zone, and I would wait until fall to do it. And the reason being is that T-Zone is an ethyl, and it's very temperature sensitive, and it's got a lot of triclopyr in it, and you can do a lot of damage to the grass you want to keep. So I will wait till it cools off a little bit outside, then go out with your T-Zone. What about green effect and microgreen as my only fert next year? Also tips for liquid ferts in 95 plus temps. Lambert, yeah, I mean, if you want to do that, sure, by all means, you can totally do that. I think that you're going to hit a point of diminishing return though from all the iron coming from green effect, and eventually that's going to lead to issues. Green effect has a lot of iron in it, and lawns just don't require that much iron. You're going to get a buildup in the soil, and that will cause issues. Tips for liquid ferts in 95 plus temps. I don't really have anything other than drop your rates extremely low, water them in as soon as you apply. Shout out to all the Discord boys. That's right. All right, y'all. I am going to call it. I'm going to call it. Again, like I said, I will be in Chicago 8/13, 8/14, 8/15. Check us out in the Discord chat, TLF, the Lawn Forum. Can I tank mix T-Nex, Bifin, and Celsius? Yes, Chris Gibson. One thing to keep in mind, if you mix your Celsius and your T-Nex, if there's any sort of impact the T-Nex has on your grass, any discoloration or whatever, the T-Nex will prevent it from growing out relatively quickly. But yes, you can do that. So if anybody's in the Chicago area, wants to meet up, have a good time, just let me know. Give me a shout. We'll go hang out while we're out there. Also, check out what's going on with Carbon Earth. Sign up for the newsletter, carbonearth.co. Check it out. We'll be talking about the new fertilizer I'm developing that's called Carbon X. That's going to be a homogenized, super kick-ass fertilizer that I'm super excited about. It's way more complicated than that. It's way more complex than that. But you can learn more about it at carbonearth.co.